I like to talk about what the mission of the church is, and this is from the Book of Discipline from the United Methodist Church. The mission of the church is to make disciples of Jesus Christ. Local churches, such as yourself, provide the most significant arena through which disciple-making occurs. And that is a very important thing to keep in mind, that you are about disciple-making, not about, Pastor Phil mentioned the many wonderful programs that you do. Those serve a greater purpose. It's about disciple-making, it's about formation, it's about community, and those are things that we're talking about today. We make disciples as we proclaim the gospel, seek, welcome, and gather persons into the body of Christ, and I'll talk about each of these a little bit more, lead persons to commit their lives to God through baptism by water and the Spirit and profession of faith in Jesus Christ, nurture persons in Christian living through worship, the sacraments, spiritual disciplines, and other means of grace, such as Wesley's Christian conferencing. So, how can we seek, welcome, and gather persons into the body of Christ? Our buildings can help proclaim the gospel by being user-friendly. This covers a range of design goals, from serving the handicapped to features that invite people in. I'm going to show you a few images now and talk about each one very briefly about the way we invite people in through what they see and experience when they come to our facilities. One way we make a recognition of a space is as symbol, and traditionally churches use steeples and other tall vertical elements to announce their presence in the community. Your building has its own way of establishing its identity in the community. The question to ask is, does it invite people in? Here's another example of a building that is trying through its image to let people know what it is and what kind of building it is. In this example, a lot of openness, a lot of this particular building is in context with the neighborhood, things like that make it more appealing. Some churches have large outdoor plazas for gathering before and after services that are very welcoming to, and they become part of the community because it becomes a community asset as well. Different ways of dealing with handicapped accessibility, making sure that all entrances are accessible, combining that with outdoor spaces, creating prayer gardens as part of the exterior functions of the church that are open to others in the community. And in this recently completed project for Calvary United Methodist Church, their interest in accessibility included building a whole second level or lower level with access to parking and handicapped accessible routes throughout the building. And it's not just on Sunday that we want to welcome people. We want to welcome people throughout the week, and there are different ways to do that. In this particular church, they've created a meditation space as part of the facility where people are invited to come in and contemplate baptism and other faith and other sacraments. In this particular church, there's a very inviting area in the reception area which really invites people to come in, sit down, fellowship with one another at any time, and it's a very open space. Other churches have gone well out of their way to make their spaces inviting to young children. This is a nursery room in a church in Indiana. And the next slide shows the same church, the facilities that they've constructed for the youth of their parish, junior high and high school, a dedicated building with spaces for fellowship and for faith and for worship experience, all done in the same environment. How do we gather persons to the body of Christ? The majority of our work over the last 16 years has been incorporating spaces for gathering for churches. And here's a few examples of gathering spaces where people meet and greet each other before service, just as we all did in the hall this morning, with or without food. They're very important functions. You can just see a few different examples of those. In this next one, they've incorporated a fireplace to make it a little bit more home-like. And you can see the spaces can be very contemporary or more traditional. How can we lead persons to commit their lives to God? Through baptism, persons are initiated into the church. By the Lord's Supper, the church is sustained in the life of faith. Many churches have made large expressions of the importance of baptism as a rite of initiation into their church. So you see here a series of different baptismal fonts of varying sizes and degrees. And people are saying something about themselves when they make commitments like that. How can we nurture persons in Christian living? Through worship, the sacraments, spiritual disciplines, and other means of grace. And the following images are just a variety of mostly contemporary worship spaces, just to show different arrangements of space and different ways that people are worshiping throughout the country. This next slide shows a before and after, a renovation project. And that's the last one of those examples. This is an historic church in Albany who removed all of their pews so that they could have any variety of settings for worship and worship-related functions. So you can see that there's a lot of different things that people have done with their facilities to try and express who they are about as a people of faith, and to have their facilities help them achieve their mission. The question for you is, how will your church carry out its mission in the 21st century? And that's what our focus is on this morning.